Okay, I'm going to gently interrupt my commission colleagues here. We're a few minutes after 7 o'clock. Once again, good to see everybody. We just finished a few moments ago our 5 o'clock meeting, so getting a little bit of a later start here. I want to officially call to order this Kalamazoo City Commission business meeting for Monday, May 15th, 2023. Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Decker.
Present.
Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Juarez.
Present.
Commissioner Pradle.
Present.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Borling. So for our opening ceremony this evening, we are blessed to have Pastor Caleb Williams here from the Millwood United Methodist Church. And I've already asked for some specific attention. I'm hoping I'm not going to catch you off guard here, to our public services staff here at the City of Kalamazoo, second largest department of the City of Kalamazoo, well over 200 people that do this heavy lifting here at the city, and we've got some great representatives here. So I know you will be recognized that in your invocation, so I'm going to ask everybody please to stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Friends, I can feel some tired people in this house. Let's call in that spirit of energy into this room. Spirit of love, fill us up one more time. Fill us up with your spirit of justice, that we might hear the voices of the marginalized echoing into these chambers. Fill us up with your spirit of mercy for those who are incarcerated, are homebound, are in our institutions. Fill us up with your spirit of righteousness as we look to those who serve us and call on your service in our desperate hours. God, when our legs begin to fail and falter, when our minds begin to drift, when our bodies are too tired, come and fill us up one more time. Fill us up so that we might remember your call to be present to all the folks tonight who may not have enough to eat, who may not have a safe place to sleep, who may not have someone who has their back and someone who tells them they love them. Help us to make this world a little bit easier for them through our work tonight. We give you special thanks for everyone who makes sure that we have water to drink, who makes sure that we have safe plumbing, that makes sure that we have safe streets, who makes sure that we are cared for and looked after. Thank you for the family that is this city. May we hold each other tight in that, even when we disagree like family, even when we go through the tough times, even when we're tired like family. May tonight be a blessing on each of us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you again, Pastor Williams. Appreciate your words. We have a special proclamation, and we are lucky enough to have multiple representatives from our own Public Services Department here to accept that. The proclamation will be read for Public Services Week by Commissioner Decker. I don't know if Director Baker, if everyone's going to come forward, how are you going to work that? And I will come down with the proclamation.
State of Michigan, United States of America Proclamation. Department of Public Services Week 2023, May 21st through May 27th. Whereas the Department of Public Services professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, groundwater, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Kalamazoo. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, groundwater, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public services professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of the organization who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our community's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas public service employees are committed to providing dedicated service to the community to which we live and work. Whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Kalamazoo to gain knowledge of and to maintain a progressive interest and understanding of the importance of our Public Services Department and public services programs within our community. Therefore, on behalf of the 54th City Commission, David Anderson, Mayor of the City of Kalamazoo, announce and proclaim the third week of May as Public Services Week. I urge all citizens to join me as we pay tribute to our public services professionals, engineers, managers, and employees to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and quality of life.
Thank you, Your Honor, Vice Mayor, City Commission, City Manager. We would like to thank the community for the support and all the work we do. Public Services will be hosting Public Services Week, May 22nd through 25th at our facilities. We'll be open to the public from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We'll be hosting tours, there will be educational displays, and staff will be on hand to engage and discuss our work with the community. We continue to make great progress with infrastructure investment in Kalamazoo, including many award-winning projects gaining recognition from the Public Works Administration, the American Society of Civil Engineers, and we have provided you with a list of our current 2022 and 2023 project awards. We want to introduce a few members of our great team. Our team consists of over 221 professional staff members. Here tonight, we are joined by Deputy Director Teresa Johnson, Division Managers Valletta Sellers-Evans, Joe Bonham, Jim Cornell, Anthony Ladd. We also wanted to highlight our field managers, Lorenzo Hoskins, Chris Smith, Chris Nelson, and our wastewater superintendent, Steve Helmer. We're also joined tonight by our administrative support manager, Wendy Burlingham, and we're joined by our assistant city engineer, Anna Crandall. We'd like to thank everyone for our efforts and dedication and performance of this great work. Brian LaBelle, City Forester, is also here. I don't want to forget him. We are also joined tonight by Miss Maria Isabella Amorin Cabrera, a global innovator in water and wastewater materials and technology from Guatemala. Ms. Cabrera is with us through June 8th as a fellow in the Young Leaders of America's initiative, sponsored through Global Ties Kalamazoo. Thank you for the proclamation, and we look forward to seeing the community at Public Services Week beginning May 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Baker and team. Thank you. And I will give you permission, if it won't hurt anybody's feelings, if you do want to walk out, that's fine. You don't have to stay for that. We're not taking it personally.
James cannot leave, though.
Always nice when we can recognize the great work that's happening by the team, and often we see them out doing that work, and many times we probably don't stop and say thank you, but that work happens around the clock, like much of our other work here in Kalamazoo. But it's around the clock, it's bad weather, you don't have a choice oftentimes to say, well, I'm not going to do that. It's just things that have to be done that we do all for each other. So I appreciate that very much. We are now down, Commissioners, to the adoption of the formal agenda. Anyone who would like to move anything from our consent agenda, which is G, to the regular agenda, H? Seeing no one, Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to move an item from our consent agenda to our regular agenda? All right, agenda stands then. Manager Ritzman, any communications?
Yeah, I just want to repeat some dates here for a town hall on the Department of Health and Human Services Town Hall that's being held this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. at Mount Zion Church. There's also going to be a follow-up meeting on May the 24th at 1 p.m. at Urban Alliance. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. I'm just going to jump in here and ask for our clerk maybe to provide us a little communication on the election that you just actually hosted and completed here, and when we're going to see our next election here in Kalamazoo.
Right, thank you, Mayor. So on May 2nd, we did have an election here in the city and actually in most of the county for a millage question for KRESA. A lot of times when you get a single question on a ballot, people think that that's a smaller election. And if I told you that on election day we had just under 800 people show up to our 19 precincts to vote, you might think, okay, well, that's a small election, but we had almost 5,000 absentee votes that were cast and tabulated. And so that, we continue to learn and see how maybe voting patterns are changing in terms of the method that people are using to vote. But it's good to see that number of people out there voting. Things went very smoothly that day. And so, my staff does a great job. I couldn't stand here and say these things without the fact that they've put in a lot of hard work. So I want to recognize them. In terms of the next election, our next scheduled election at this time is the November election. That's our municipal election, where the offices of mayor and city commission will be on the ballot. And there's potential for ballot questions as well. Those deadlines are still to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the work of your team. It is a reminder for us who wait for election results that even in what you would think of as a lower turnout election, it does extend the time that we can actually get vote totals over the county when we have to process a lot of absentee ballots. So thanks for, I think there was kind of a baseline for you in terms of without problems, how quickly you can get through that. But still, it took a while to get all those votes over there. So thank you again to you, Clerk Borling, and your team. Now is the opportunity for public comments for our business meeting. And we will start with anyone that's in the chamber. You will have 3 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city. And please come forward at this time if you want to make a comment. I also want to remind people who may be watching is that you can make a comment for this business meeting by calling in. Same thing, 3 minutes. And I will give you the number right now. The number is 888-382-9556. And just a reminder, this agenda item is for you to present your thoughts on any topic to the City Commission, but it's not an opportunity for dialogue or discussion. Those kinds of events might happen, reaching out other kinds of engagements in the city. So if you have a comment, please come forward at this time.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Joel Schoonbeck. I'm at 424 Homecrest Avenue. My wife and I have lived there for 28 years. Enjoy the place. We did recently have an issue on Valentine's Day. Our basement was flooded with sewage. The Public Works Department tried to clear a blockage up the hill from us, and we know that sewage runs downhill. And it found its way to our basement and our neighbor's basement to the east of us. We filed a claim with Hausch Company in Elgin, Illinois. Apparently they handle the claims against the city. And I want to read the response from them. It said, "Good afternoon. I will get the documentation submitted to the city for their review and determination of liability and payment, if any. We cannot authorize any repairs. We are a third-party vendor hired by the city to inspect, obtain, and document reported damage, but the city reviews each individual claim and tell us how to move forward once they have reviewed and made their decision. Once we have received a response from the city, we will notify you, and there is no timetable for hearing back from the city. I find that unacceptable. So I reached out to all of you on the 28th of April, and only Commissioner Decker responded, and I thank you for that. And it's kind of appalling to me that I'm in this situation. But what I sent you was, good morning all. Please find the forwarded email from the attorneys that handle claims against the city. Please note that the last sentence in particular, is this any way to treat the hardworking tax-paying citizens of the city? And that was, we'll get to you basically whenever we feel like it, if ever. On February 14th, 2.5 months ago, the city sewer division accidentally flooded our basement with sewage while removing a blockage up the hill from our house on Homecrest Avenue. Both our neighbor to the east of us and us got flooded, with our house receiving the lion's share. Public Services Supervisor Greg Greewet came out that night and explained that it was the city's mistake and gave me the contact number for Hausch & Company, who handles these types of claims. We have racked up $5,000 in cleaning and tear out expenses alone, and it's going to take at least that much to repair and cover the items that were ruined. Meanwhile, we cannot entertain downstairs, our pool table and our ping pong table, because everything is torn apart. I'm hoping that some one of you can light a fire somewhere to make us whole. Service Master is calling us for payment. I don't have the money to foot that kind of a bill. The thing that offends me the most is the cavalier attitude of the city when the attorney writes, there is no timetable from hearing back from the city. I pay my water bill on time, my taxes on time. What would happen to me if I just said, no, I'll pay whenever, if ever? There's no timetable for me. So anyway, I don't think that's a proper way to treat the citizens of Kalamazoo. I know I've been cut off, my time is short here. I tried to make it as quick as possible. But I really would like you all to look at your emails from the 28th of April and get back with me. I know Commissioner Cooney, I believe you lived near Homecrest at one time, and maybe you still do. I'd love for one of you to stop by my house. And this is unacceptable. You know, I respect better from the city.
Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to come down. Yes.
My name is Ray Sweeney. I'm a resident of Kalamazoo. So greetings. It's a beautiful day today. Kalamazoo is a great place to live when you're well off. Good restaurants, theater, impressive musical offerings. It's the sort of thing that brought us here, actually, from New Orleans. It's a little off-putting, though, to see people with cardboard signs asking for a little money. Why are they there? I hope churches remind their congregants that these people are our brothers and sisters. For you in government, these people are constituents. Many of you sat through a marathon meeting in August 2018. The homeless told you that they felt unwanted and unloved. One stated there was not a day that they didn't contemplate suicide. Some are aware of their own capacity or complicity in their homelessness. They may feel that they got what they deserved. Others are homeless for reasons over which they had no control. 2 proposals were announced approximately in 2021 by HRI and LIFT to address homelessness. The LIFT-initiated project, Lodge Houses Open, and big bravo. HRI proposed to establish groupings of pods where people can lock a door and sleep without the fear of being accosted, where they could lock a door and leave their stuff without the fear that it would be scooped up by either ill-wishing individuals or even their own government. It is rumored that HRI may sell off the pods that they have in storage. To be fair to all sides, there are complications in trying to find the right site for such a cluster. We cannot fail. We cannot fail. What I pray for is that the homeless are loved and valued in Kalamazoo and that they know it. This attitude can be transforming. Lives can be transformed by what we do. The present situation is toxic. We cannot fail.
Thank you. Next, please. Please, someone.
Good evening. Jeff Messer, city resident. As some of you know, for the past year, I've been a volunteer for Rank My Vote. Our Citizens Initiative for Ranked Choice Voting in the city of Kalamazoo has collected just over 3,000 signatures, verified against the registered voter list, 250 more than the number needed to qualify for this November's ballot. Because only the city clerk's office can verify the actual signatures, this week we hope to collect an additional 150 verified signatures, so we have 400 signature cushion to ensure that we qualify. If you are currently registered to vote at an address within the limits of the city of Kalamazoo and have not already signed our petition, here are some locations where you can do so this week, which is our final week of signature collection. This Friday from 4 to 6 p.m., we plan to be at the 41st District Service Office's annual block party in the 300 block of North Burdick Street, downtown next to the Rickman House and Mr. President. If we have enough volunteers, we might also be at the simultaneous Kalamazoo Public Schools Outdoor Art Show opening celebration in Bronson Park on Friday from 4 to 6:30 p.m. This Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon, we plan to be at the Bank Street Farmers Market. I stand on the Bank Street sidewalk at the intersection with Collins Street near Judy Sarkozy's stall, holding a large ranked choice voting sign. Later on Saturday from 11:30 a.m. to 2 p.m., we plan to be on the Dutton Street sidewalk outside Old Central High School during the Vine Neighborhood Association's annual meeting. If none of those dates work for you, please email me at messer4kzoo@hotmail.com, and we'll make arrangements to collect your signature at a location of your choosing within the city of Kalamazoo. The email address is messer4kzoo@hotmail.com. If you need those times and dates again, they're posted on my Facebook page at facebook.com/messer4kzoo. We do all this work as an educational effort and to build our volunteer base in anticipation of a statewide ballot initiative for ranked choice voting in 2026. Ranked choice voting is a change to the way we vote that has the power to break the two-party duopoly that is a stranglehold on our politics and increase the diversity and quality of candidates that run in the first place. RCV does this by allowing voters to express their true candidate preferences without fear of wasting votes or spoiling elections. To learn more about ranked choice voting, please visit our website at rankmyvote.org, where MI is letters MI, the postal abbreviation for Michigan, just as you see on my shirt. For those in attendance tonight, I'll be standing outside the Level Street entrance to City Hall for the remainder of this meeting, ready to collect your signature and/or explain the benefits of ranked choice voting. Thank you for your time and support. 2 seconds left.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
I'm just kind of at my wit's end. Not really sure. Everywhere I go to the public school board meeting, and the police escort me out because a commissioner, according to that officer told me the commissioner requested that I be removed. I went back and watched the video. In person, he was standing behind me. So I thought that he went back and spoke to her. But after reviewing the body cam footage, he never went and spoke to her again. He just made it up in his head. He made it up. I said, "Do you want me to leave or can I stay?" The commissioner had said, yes, that's what we want, which is a little confusing. But he said in his head, he's going to go. So one of the sacred things that's protected in this country is the right to protest. I've talked about doing this last year, and I just don't feel like I have another choice. Give me another choice. other than protest. I can put myself in a wooden stock in Bronson Park, right in front of City Hall, or right by David Anderson's house in front of an elementary school, or down by the police station where law enforcement can walk by me all the time and they can just see the way that I feel inside. They can witness it with their eyes. I heard people say that Kalamazoo is a great place to live several times tonight. And those same people saying that it's toxic, it's got to change. It's got to change. We don't have any school shootings yet. That's great. But is that what it takes? I just don't get it. The full weight of the government.
Thank you very much. Next, please. Seeing no one else in the chambers that's going to come forward, once again, now is the opportunity for call-ins. Our great team member, Andy, here from the IT department will be managing that. Once again, the number is 888-382-9556. Do we have any calls?
Let us find out. Thank you for calling. You go ahead with your 3-minute comment. Caller?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead with your comments.
Yes, hi, this is Tina McClin. I live on Lake Street. I am from Kalamazoo, and I live in Kalamazoo. I'm calling you because of to see what you're going to do about the flooding issues. You keep building up higher than our homes, and every time you build up higher than our homes, you're going to build the the little senior place up higher than our home. You're going to build it higher than the water table, so you must know it's a floodplain, which means that water's going to help flood out Crosstown. I get it. They're tired of flooding just like we are. We are sick of buying furnaces. We are sick of your sewage coming in our basements. You know, come on, guys. You got to start caring. The north side, it's already been busted out that you've been polluting people for years, graphic packaging. It's literally killing people. The stuff is blowing all over Kalamazoo, and you still want to rezone my little green space so you can let Lyft or HRI build in a floodplain. We already flood, guys. Come on. Start caring about the residents of Kalamazoo. You know, we need that green space to survive. There's plenty other places you could build. You could let Lyft and HRI build at the old DHS building, right on Stockbridge, 322 Stockbridge, right across from that little green space that you're trying to rezone. So that way you can build on it. Even though it's in the NFP, you can change the rules to let them build. That's why the RM15, I believe that's what you're trying to rezone it. So then you can just build and you don't have to tell anybody about it. Then you can flood us out even more. Would you stop trying to hurt us? We are a poor neighborhood too. We are a Southtown neighborhood. We flood. Come on, guys, you got to start caring. If this was your home, you would care. This is my home I've lived in for 38 years. I've paid taxes every single year. I pay my water bill. I pay all my bills. No one helps me pay anything. Come on, guys. Stop building in floodplains. Stop trying to drown us out even more. Come on. We got to save the green spaces. We are in a climate change. There's over 100 trees in that little green space. How much carbon does a tree absorb? How much water does a soft ground absorb? How much water would not be in our homes? Come on, guys, start caring. Thank you. Goodbye.
Giving it a moment. There doesn't seem to be any more public comments at this time.
Thank you very much, Andy. Appreciate you managing that.
As I was turning it off. Unfortunately, I was turning it off as the call was coming in, and there they are. One moment. Thank you, caller. Go ahead with your comments.
Yeah, hi. This is Kelly Doyle calling, resident of Kalamazoo. I was calling about two items. One, we recently had a large overdose happen a couple weeks ago, and I was curious what plans the city had to help manage that in the future. First, I want to let people know that Narcan is available through pharmacies, but other agencies and other cities are putting out like vending machines with QR codes so that people have access to Narcan on the street. So that's something I just want to mention. If anybody is interested in that, to let me know, and I can get information for you. The other piece is the graphic packaging. I'll be attending the town hall, but I'm looking for city leadership, not just the staff, to provide their plan of how they're going to manage the graphic packaging issue. I appreciate Vice Mayor Cooney posting on Facebook about it, but I'm really expecting leadership to talk about why we continue to allow graphic packaging to have the high pollution counts. We're paying $5 million is what was listed to clean up the wastewater. I'm wondering what graphic packaging is paying when they're getting the tax cuts, what we're benefiting as a city, especially since we know that the illness that is occurring on the north side. So hopefully we'll get some answers, but that's what I wanted to say.
Let's give it a moment. No more comments at this time.
Thank you once again, Andy. I appreciate it. Next on our agenda is the consent agenda. City Manager Ritzma.
We have the following 10 items presented for approval this evening. First is the approval of a sole source agreement with Alfred Benesch and Company for technical assistance with the implementation of Lucity Central Square Enterprise Asset Management in the amount of $115,476. Next, the approval of a one-year contract extension with Goodyear for tire and tubes for KDPS and public services in the amount of $128,000. Next is the approval of a purchase order with XWT Excavating Incorporated for the 2023 new water service installation project in the amount of $863,911.11. Next, the adoption of a resolution approving a request from the Downtown Development Authority to levy a tax rate of 1.9638 mils. Next, the adoption of a resolution confirming the 2023 assessment roll. Next is the adoption of the updated 2023 Emergency Operations Plan for the City of Kalamazoo and authorize the mayor and city manager to sign the letter of promulgation. Next is the approval for the City Commission to rejoin Southwest Michigan First Council of 100. Next is the approval of the mayor's appointments and reappointments to the Civil Rights Board. First, the reappointment of Jen Sue Bishop for a term expiring on March 31, 2026. Next, the reappointment of Madison Lukeman for a term expiring on March 31, 2026. And finally, the appointment of Catherine Faison for a term expiring on March 31, 2025. Next, the approval of the following appointments to the Environmental Concerns Committee. the appointment of Thomas DeWurst for a term expiring on January 1, 2026, and the appointment of Rachel Jongle for a term expiring on January 1, 2026. And finally, the approval of the minutes from the City Commission meetings on March 20, April 3, April 17, and May 1st, 2023.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Well, Commissioners, the requested action is to motion to approve items 1 through 10 and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents on behalf of the city. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hoffman.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Juarez. Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez, Commissioner Pradel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The items on the consent agenda are approved. Next is H, regular agenda. City Manager Ritzma.
Item H1 is approval of a one-year contract extension with Corby Energy for sanitary sewer rehabilitation by lining through the Cooperative Purchase National IPA Cooperative Purchasing Program in the amount of $1,011,302.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Any staff report on this?
There is not, but we do have our director available if there are any questions.
Questions, Commissioners? Seeing none, now is an opportunity for individuals who are here in the audience who would like to comment specifically on this item to come forward. Once again, as is our practice, you will have 3 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city. Seeing that there is no one here that wants to address the City Commission on this topic, Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Pradel.
Support.
Supported by Vice Mayor Cooney. Any discussion, Commissioners? Commissioner Pradel.
I just want to make a note to city staff. I really appreciate, I've noticed that you've been trying to intentionally add items over roughly $1 million to the regular agenda. I like to see that. It makes me feel uncomfortable for issues that we're voting on that are that significant, just appearing on a consent agenda and just rubber stamping. The other thing I just wanted to share as well is, the types of technologies that we're able to use now is incredible, and basically repair in place with piping and whatnot. And I think this is a great way to preserve our infrastructure. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez,
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Decker,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item H1 is approved. Next item on the regular agenda, City Manager Ritzma.
H2 is approval of a 3-year contract extension with Wayne County Appraisal LLC, doing business as WCA Assessing for assessing services in the amount of $1,059,218. And, Your Honor, we've got 2 items on the agenda this evening for the assessing department, and I thought it'd be good for our CFO, Steve Asensi, to come forward. Since this is a long-standing contract we've had, but also a little change in how the city has been doing assessing over the last.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Just a moment here, a quick question. So I see my agenda says, I'm going to make sure our numbers are right on this, $1,208,172.13.
Okay, my printout here. Okay, yeah, 1,208,172.13.
All right.
Apologize for that.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Guess I'll start there real quick before I get into the whole details of the contracts that we have before you tonight. On the first run of the agenda last Thursday, we had incorrect numbers listed on the contracts. The total, this year we're moving to a single contract with WCA Assessing. However, we still break them out for the commission agenda because it includes appointing the city assessor. And we had a clerical error when we were distributing the portions of the contract, so that's why you saw a change from last Thursday to tonight, even though the total amount between the two items is still the same. So I just wanted to point that out, that that was our clerical error, and we've corrected that for tonight. Then just a quick history with WCA. We started with them providing city assessor services back in 2012. It was part of a strategic plan to reduce the city's budget. It has worked extremely well since that point. They've provided extremely professional service. They have staff on site every day. And in 2021, we actually fully transitioned all assessing services to WCA. We had one standalone employee still with the city at that time. He actually went to work for WCA, and it was a great opportunity for us to take his 20-some years of knowledge and transition that into a contractor who then turned around and worked for us, and we actually paid less for the contract. And so this contract allows us to have a great professional company continuing our assessing services where we don't have to worry about the issues of lost knowledge when we have employee turnover. They're able to kind of continue that and keep that within their company, and we've been able to, transition our own employee to them. On top of that, they also do assessing services for the city of Battle Creek, Portage, and Galesburg in the area, so they have a strong foothold over in our area, and they're very familiar with the west side of the state as well as east side of the state and all Michigan assessing and tax laws. And yeah, I think that's just kind of some of the history. So I guess if there's any other questions about, services they provide or how we got to this point, I'll be happy to answer any of those.
Thank you, Steve. Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a real quick question. And if you don't know this, you can get back to me. I'm not exactly sure. But so it just happened to be a meeting today, and we're actually talking about assessed values of home properties. And I read within the agenda report here that we have to comply with having all of our parcels and land assessed within a 7 to 10 year period.
Correct.
Okay. So we are now beginning to have all of our properties assessed again throughout that 10 year period?
It's a continual process. So I guess we always are assessing at least 10% of the parcels every year. Typically, we try to keep a little bit ahead of that to give ourselves some buffer, and that's why you see 7 to 10 years, but the requirement is 10 years. And so It's not that we're starting over, we're just continuing.
Continuing everything. And again, I don't know if you would have the answer to this, but you say that you like the relationship so far with this company, and again, they've kind of working in Portage and Battle Creek and whatnot. So unfortunately, at that time, we were going through our budget constraints. We did have to eliminate some jobs, but it looks like if this organization is doing a good job and we were able to put one of our with them, I think it's a good contract to go with.
Yes. I've been very happy with the contract. I think my biggest concern was, we had our deputy assessor at the time, Andrew Falkenberg, who's actually in the back here to ask any more detailed questions if you have them to. He had 24 years of experience with us, and to try to transition that level of knowledge to the next employee without having to double up employees for at least a year, if not longer, to keep that knowledge was always kind of a scary thought. That you bring in someone new, you never know, how detailed they are. He's able to take the knowledge he has now and pass it down through the staff at WCA. So when the time comes for him to eventually retire, we'll have a staff with that continued knowledge of Kalamazoo.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Pradel?
Evening, Steve. I just had a question for you, and I probably should know this, but maybe you can enlighten us a little bit about this, how this works. So tonight's the appointment of Aaron Powers. He's a part of the services that we'll be contracting out to, correct me, Wayne County Appraisal LLC. So I presume that appointment is to Aaron Powers. Is Aaron the leader of that entity, or and they have a staff that work for Aaron, or how does that work exactly? Or is Aaron like a member of that team and is appointed as assessor?
Yeah, he is if I have this correct, a partner of WCA Assessing. Okay. And he is a level 4 master assessor, which we are required to have at the city of Kalamazoo.
Sure.
And then it's an appointed position, and Clyde can correct me, I believe, per the city charter. Yes.
Yep, perfect. All right, great, thank you. I just was curious what his particular relationship was to the company, so, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you. I have a question in reference. This has been a long relationship that the city has had with WCA. As we do our work with diversity, equity, and inclusion, can you speak or can someone speak to what is the makeup of this organization?
I would have to ask Andrew to come up. I'm familiar with a few of the employees that work here and in the local area, but I'll defer that to him.
Hi, good evening, council members, city mayor. I would have to check with the company records as far as what the full level and makeup of the diversity of the entire company is. We employ over, I think it's at 54 people now, with the majority of them on the east side of the state. WCA services 39 communities in the state, roughly 460,000 parcels. I don't have the SEV count, but I know it's in the multi-billions. So in our staff, we have 11 people right now that we are rotating additional people in, and we are actually looking for people to work in the assessing field. So if someone is interested, we encourage them to apply.
Thank you for that. And
But if that information is required, I would be able to get that from our human resources department with the company.
that would be wonderful.
Okay.
And does WCA, are you all currently doing any work around DE&I?
I'm sorry?
Are you currently doing any work as an organization around diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I do not have the answer to that. I am not privy to that. I'm just the regional manager for the employees that are over here, but I could, again, reach out to one of the managing directors.
Thank you, that would be lovely.
Thank you.
Other questions, team? So just this bit of a reminder here, our charter does require us to have an assessor, and by law, it has to be a level 4 master assessor. And we did have an in-house assessor for a long time. So it wasn't necessarily a position cut, but we tried to find a level 4 master assessor back at that time. Maybe it's different, but they were few and far between. We actually, I'm not even sure if we were able to find someone to fill that assessing position. So I believe that's why we ended up moving to this contract relationship. Maybe things have changed now, but, and Steve, you may know more about that, but.
I can touch briefly on it. I don't have the current numbers. I know it's been this way for at least the last 6 years, probably the last decade or longer, when the state kind of changed the law around the requirements for a level 4 assessor, that there are less level 4 assessors in the state of Michigan than there are jurisdictions that require one. And so a lot of jurisdictions hire one part-time, and they share because you need that level 4 to sign off on the assessment role.
Right. So at that time, our option was to go with contract work, which is what we've done since then. No change there. Any other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Pradel.
From a sustainability perspective, just knowing that they're so rare and far between to have a level 4 assessor, if for some reason, Aaron was unable to provide those services, does having this contracted services enable us to potentially have a stronger pool of people to draw from so that service would go on uninterrupted? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Andrew, maybe you can help me. You have more than, WCA has more than one level 4, correct?
Yes. WCA has, to my knowledge right now, at least 5 level 4s on staff. There's probably more that I'm not familiar with. I was in the level 4 program myself. I did have to temporarily draw to a family death in the family, but intend to get back into that in the fall as well. It is our goal to train all of our employees to their highest ability and encourage them to continue to seek additional levels in the assessment field, helping them along the way to become master assessors themselves.
Good question. Anything else, team? All right. Thank you very much. Good to see you. So no more questions for staff. Now is the opportunity for public comments on this item. Once again, speakers will have 3 minutes for their comments. Is there anyone who would like to address the City Commission on this topic? Seeing no one, Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hess,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Decker. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Juarez,
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Decker,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item H2 is approved. Next item on the regular agenda, Manager Risma.
H3 is the approval of the appointment of Aaron Powers as City Assessor under the provisions of Charter Section 51 and approval of a 3-year contract extension with Wayne County Appraisal LLC, doing business as the WCA Assessing for City Assessor and Assessor of Record Services in the amount of $394,523.87.
Thank you very much, Manager Ritzma. I presume there's no separate presentation on this. We pretty much covered this topic, I believe, unless there's some confusion about it. Any questions for Manager Ritzma on this item from Commission? Okay, thank you. Now's the opportunity for anyone who's here in the chambers to make a public comment on this item if you would like. Seeing no one at this time, Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Juarez,
Support.
supported by Vice Mayor Cooney. Any further discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Pradel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Decker,
Yes.
Commissioner Hess,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item H3 is approved. The next item on the regular agenda, City Manager Ritzma.
Item H4 is approval of a 1-year term contract with Kalamazoo Oil Incorporated for gasoline, diesel, and biodiesel fuel for the not-to-exceed amount of $1.1 million. And
Yeah, go ahead, Manager Ritzma.
yeah, I've asked our Public Services Director, James Baker, to come forward just to highlight and give an update on where we are with our biodiesel program. This is something that we began, a year or two ago, and we are seeing great results from that. So, Director Baker?
Welcome, Director Baker.
Thank you, Mayor, City Manager, City Commission. To the City Manager's comments, this program, the biodiesel program, was developed as an interim step towards our goal attainment of the community sustainability plan, focusing on the heavy-duty vocational vehicles and engines. An extensive pilot was conducted, including lab testing and analysis of fuel quality performance characteristics, and a comparative analysis across vehicle and engine platforms using conventional petroleum diesel and biodiesel test blends. A biodiesel pilot was launched in 2021. That pilot continued for over 1 year into 2022. We then started a biodiesel attrition program in 2022 and full biodiesel implementation in 2023. So with this contract that you have in front of you, we're now pulling that biodiesel off from its separate standalone contract to the overall contract with all of our liquid fuel procurement. This will be full, as I stated, this will be full implementation within public services on our wheeled vehicle platforms, wheeled vehicle heavy-duty platforms in 2023. We estimate that this will provide a reduction of carbon emissions of approximately 16 tons annually, or a reduction of approximately 8% in terms of our overall public services use on that. We also took that and calculated it in equivalent to new tree plantings. So this annual reduction of carbon emissions through the use of biodiesel would be equivalent to planting an additional 685 trees every single year, just with that reduction in emissions there. So any questions, I can take those and go into further detail on any of those points.
Thank you, Director Baker. Questions from Commissioners? Seeing none, I just want to say thank you. In particular, this is one of the things back when Metro Transit was still part of the city, that I started working on when I first got elected to the commission. And you took that and figured out a way to make it happen. And I know some things improved over time, but I really appreciate that work on that incremental step to do, basically take steps that are also part of our plan for our climate plan here. So thank you so much. One thing which I did get to do is I got to actually help fill the first tank on, looked like one of our biggest dump trucks to me. I don't know, had to climb up into it, and then got to drive a 5-mile-an-hour semicircle in the parking lot, which was intimidating, I have to say. So anyway, thank you for that individual benefit. Appreciate that. Now is the opportunity for anyone who's here in the chambers to comment on this item. Please come forward if you'd like to make a comment. Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hess,
Support.
supported by Vice Mayor Cooney. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item H4 is approved. The next item on the regular agenda, City Manager Risma.
Item H5 is adoption of a resolution approving a contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation for the Whites Road Water Main and Roadway Construction Project between Oakland Drive and Westnedge Avenue in the amount of $3,619,086. And we have Director Baker available for any questions. There is not a formal presentation.
Thank you, Manager Risma. Questions for Director Baker on this topic? Yeah, Commissioner Pradel.
Sorry, Director Baker. Just wanted to clarify for dates. This construction project is estimated late summer start and then completion 2024.
That's correct. That's what's scheduled right now. I will note that we still have to meet with our contractor and go over that schedule. That could change.
Sure.
Some of our projects have seen schedule changes that we have approved and supported. So that's currently the proposed schedule, but that could change.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions for Director Baker while he's up here? All right, seeing none, thank you. Now is the opportunity for public comments on this item. Please come forward if you'd like to make a public comment. Seeing no one, Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to adopt the resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Hoffman,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Decker. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item H5 is adopted. Next are reports and legislation. Manager Ritzma, do you have a report?
Yes, Your Honor. I just want to take some time and highlight what's going on in our Parks and Recreation Department. We got to see and recognize the great work that Public Services is doing and the work that they do every day for our community. Parks and Recreation is another department that works hard for our community. There are a couple of events coming up that I want to highlight. First is our bike rodeo. That is on the 17th of May between 5 and 7 p.m. at Mayor's Riverfront Park. And we also will be holding a couple of sessions for Millen Park Master Plan community input sessions on May the 24th and June 1st. Those are between 4 and 7 p.m. at Millen Park. I also want to highlight a couple of staff people's contributions to the department. First, I want to highlight a seasonal employee. His name is James Ingram, And he's highlighted his work. Due to staff shortages, James was asked to step up to temporarily help maintain a group of assigned parks to include two prominent parks, Millam and Crane Park. James has been working with our department as a seasonal employee for going on 3 years this summer. He is not only someone that is dependable, honest, and hardworking, but he's also seen as a leader within our team, even if he isn't a year-round employee. He has done a great job ensuring we haven't missed a beat during this time as we open parks, and should be recognized for his work and willingness to step up when needed. I also want to highlight Pete Eretz. He's our Parks and Recreation Program Coordinator. He hit his 20-year service anniversary with the city this year. And then one of my favorites is Lunchtime Live begins June 9th, and that runs every Friday in Bronson Park between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. from June 9th to September 1st. And just another sign that summer is on its way, Kick Pool will be scheduled to open on June the 7th and will be open until August 13th. That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much, Manager Schrisma. Now we are at the point on our agenda for commissioner comments. Is there anyone who would like to start us off this evening? Commissioner, have you got it settled there? Commissioner
Yes,
Hoppe.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to let community know that Housing Resources Incorporated has emergency rental assistance funds that are available and will be accepting applications up until May 26th. You can print them offline or go to their office to get the applications. Also, they will be at the block party on Burdick. So if you are having some rental arrears, please, and the money needs to be expended by June 30. So this is a very quick turnaround. I also just wanted to give a little more clarity about my comments, excuse me, you guys, in reference to us partnering with organizations and institutions around DEI. We have committed ourselves to do the work, the hard work of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think it's important that we begin to take a look at who are our partners and where are they on the journey. Not to say that we won't continue to work with them, but I think we have an obligation to ask those kinds of questions and to see how they're moving. That we just awarded a lot of money. And I would love to see our organizations that we partner with really take a deep look at that and see what that looks like for their organization. So I just wanted to give a little more clarity around that question.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Hoffman. Mr. Decker?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things for me. If anyone can get out there and volunteer with communities and schools, I had the pleasure of going to speak with their after-school program last week, and my task was to talk about jobs at the city, what kind of jobs these kids could do at the city. And I walked around and I talked to them like, what do you like to do and what do you like to do? And they all had something that could be encompassed into what we do here at the city. So I spoke with our city manager, and I'm hoping that next year we'll be able to invite these kids here to maybe do a 1-hour training of the great departments that we have here within the city. I will say that I am definitely, I kind of sat on a meeting today, and I'm very excited with us being able to get back with Southwest Michigan First, mainly because they're also going to help us continue what Director Kick's been doing with our placemaking and her team for being downtown, and also helping us to really, between the city, Southwest Michigan First, Discover Kalamazoo, other authorities working together to really put together a booklet to really promote our city, because we're doing great things here. We've heard today that we're doing something that no other municipality is doing in Michigan when it comes to the marijuana businesses and that chamber. Director Baker already talked about the Great Water Place facilities tours all next week, so that is awesome. I will say that for the Weston Hill neighborhood on June 3rd from 4 to 6 p.m., we will be having a block party at Crane Park. So if you can, please come out and kind of see what's going on there. We will definitely be talking about setting up or really solidifying, hopefully, the Western Hill Neighborhood Association, so then they're able to start to do their master plan and start to talk about things that they want within their neighborhood to be done. I'm also planning on having a big map there because as I walked around the Western Hill neighborhoods and spoke about this, not a lot of individuals that live within Western Hill really know what the boundaries are. So I wanted to be able to show them what the boundaries are and say, hey, this goes here and this goes there. But I definitely invite individuals that live within the Western Hill neighborhood to please come out and just to gather some information, listen to DJ Conscious. All kids love DJ Conscious. I love DJ Conscious. And to get some food and just kind of hear what the Western Hill is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Hess?
Speaking of DJ Conscious, DJ Conscious will be playing at the District Service Office block party that we heard mentioned a few times here with, Jeff Messer is going to be there. We're going to have a lot of fun. There will be music, there will be games, there will be a lot of community organizations there that can be known to the community. So that said, it's on Friday, May 19th from 4 to 6 p.m. on the block of Burdick, just south of Kalamazoo Avenue and north of the mall. So please come out and join us. It should be a lot of fun. I want to address Tina continues to call in about flooding. I was given a podcast that Director Baker was a part of with former Commissioner Jack Urban. And that is available on the Public Media Network. It's an hour-long podcast about flooding in Kalamazoo. It's very informative, as only Director Baker can be. And a project of this scope is about $10 million worth of design. Am I correct? A project of the scope of really mitigating flooding in Kalamazoo will take $10 million to design. I can only imagine the cost of actually building that. So we are looking into that. That is something that the city is working on. So Tina, please know that you are always heard. I want to give a little shout out and gratitude to Christina Anderson for doing the zoning planning meetings that she did, the 3 meetings that she did in the community to try and explain the zoning upgrades to our residents. So kudos to her for doing that and providing education to our community. Let's see, I did that. Hey, I really want to first of all, thank Woodward Elementary School for creating cards for our public safety officers. I stopped by before I went to do a ride-along with Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety officers, and there was a giant envelope full of well over 100 cards made by the students at Woodward thanking our public safety officers for all they do in our community. They appreciate you, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the folks who took time to be with me and allow me into their vehicle for that day, for last Wednesday. I appreciate your professionalism. I appreciate your level of care and compassion and your care and the level of training that you must have to be able to do your jobs well. So I really appreciate all of you so very much. I was able on Saturday to speak at an electric vehicle event and show, and the same day that we had the bike show here in Bronson Park. So the electric vehicle event is really hopeful for the future of Kalamazoo and electric vehicles in Kalamazoo. This is about the evolution of transportation. While we continue to evolve our roads, to have people be able to walk and bike and be pedestrians on them safely, we need to be very conscious about the energy with which we propel ourselves through space. So it was a wonderful event. I want to thank Ben Brown for putting that together from the public library. Change is difficult, but necessary. And as I said at the event, if folks had been, if Henry Ford gave people what they wanted, they would have gotten faster horses. So we have an opportunity here to electrify throughout the city. It was mentioned with Public Services, our intern from Guatemala, who came to us through Global Ties. Last week, Commissioner Hoffman and I were able to meet with a group from Bangladesh. And if I could just for a moment have you pray for them, because they went home and then were hit by Cyclone Mocha in Bangladesh and in Myanmar. So it was an all-female delegation of government officials that came to visit us here in Kalamazoo after having left Washington, D.C., and then they were going to go to Lansing and then a few other communities throughout Michigan. It was fascinating. And even with a language barrier, getting women in a room to talk about issues was amazing. And so I want to thank Jody Michaels from Global Ties for bringing this group to us. It was very enlightening and just really a fun time for me to be with women from halfway across the world. Just a reminder that our two-way plans for the streets, again, will be at Charette's on Wednesday, open houses on Wednesday, May 24th from 4:30 to 7 at Bell's. And then also on Tuesday, May 30th from 9 to 11 at the Catalyst Center on Water Street. And lastly, I'd like to congratulate all the Kalamazoo Public Schools seniors who attended the signing event at the Arcadia Festival site last Friday that was hosted by the Kalamazoo Promise. It was a wonderful celebration of education in our community, and a lot of energy around that. Our pastor tonight prayed for energy in the city. Well, that was energy. I want to thank all the people from the Promise and for making sure that education is alive and well in Kalamazoo. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hess. Commissioner Bradel?
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Decker, you brought up the Coming to City Hall Day, and I think I've shared this story before. I can't remember if I've shared it with this commission, but when I was in elementary school over at Spring Valley Elementary School, this City Hall used to do that, actually. And I think I was maybe like a third or fourth grader. And at the time, you would get paired, like every couple of kids would get paired with a different city staff member. So, a couple people would get assigned with the city manager, a couple people would get to be with the mayor or whatever. And I just remember at the time, they were divvying up where all the kids would go, and I'd see a couple kids go off with the fire department and get to play with the sirens, and a couple people go off in a squad car and all this stuff. And so my lot got pulled, and I ended up going to the water reclamation plant. And so you can imagine my joy of being a small third grader and watching all your friends get to gavel in with the mayor and go off with the fire department. And I go to water reclamation plant. And I still credit that as something, as a pivotal moment that changed my direction in terms of being engaged and focused on our local government and how government works, because you realize the complexity at a young age of, that you just flush the toilet and it's not just like a magical thing that goes off somewhere in the universe, and so when we saw the promotion for Public Services Week, I want to encourage people who are reaching out or calling about the concerns that they're having with their sewer lines or issues with water aesthetics and those sort of things. Attend one of these events. One of the best things I did before the pandemic, they put these on. And I remember thinking as a candidate back in 2019, I thought, I'm going to go to this and it's going to be a bunch of people who are tired after a long day of work and everything. And you go to these events and the people who you saw here are putting on this event, and it's very hands-on and teaching you how complex our system is, and they're juiced up to be there, at the end of the day after a long day, because they just want to share what they're passionate about and what they love to do. And I'm going to try to make every one of these that I can next week because they're great opportunities to learn. And even after being at this for 4 years, I still have so much to learn, and I'm still learning. And I wanted to just share as well, this year alone, the city of Kalamazoo is investing $111 million in capital improvements in our city. And gosh, it'd be great if we as a community could better understand where all that money is going towards, because that's a lot of cheddar. And that's money that is improving the things that people are frustrated by or people want to see changed, or aging infrastructure and those things. And we made some actions tonight on making that happen. So please encourage people to check out these Public Services Week events and check them out, because they really are not disappointing, and I really mean that. I also wanted to make sure to follow up from the last meeting. I really appreciated Commissioner Hoffman suggesting that we reevaluate appointee evaluations. I just wanted to follow up with community that we did hear follow-up from Director Dusick, that Commissioner Huffman, Commissioner Hess, and I are hopefully going to be meeting next week about that. I also just wanted to say, you know, we finally heard from MDHHS in terms of the report. There's a public forum, I believe this Thursday, we heard as well from city manager, and has been out there in the community as well. There's a lot of work to do, and I think that's very much recognized. What I'll say is that I have every bit of confidence as a leader in this community that this city staff and this commission will stick with it. You know, I believe this group has the will and the determination to make sure that we get this right, whether it be working with people or driving as hard as we can ourselves. I think one of the things that's telling for me is that, you know, I was looking at the list of the things that we as the city did before we're even mandated to do these things, right? We do it because we want to make things right and try to make quality of life and things in our community. Investing $5 million in odor mitigation improvements that are just in recent years. Carbon and passive interceptors and air scrubbers installed and now in action. New solid handling processes to minimize the number of trucks leaving. 2023 project to relocate and resize pipes from GPI to the plant. Use of technology to investigate the source of potential odors within large sewer pipes. Placement of 10 EnviroSuite air monitors in neighborhoods and 6 within the wastewater treatment plant. The formation of the odor task force with different stakeholders. These are all things that we did, not because somebody told us we had to do, but because we believe that this is the right thing to do to improve quality of life in our community. So where do I go next with this? My message, I guess, to you know, companies that are within our city. You know, you hear about the concept of corporate responsibility. And a lot of times, too often, I think we look at that and say like, oh, well, what makes a great company? Investing a lot to create a big building or, you know, bigger infrastructure in that facility or employing lots of people. And that's important too. But what I know is like my generation and everybody who comes after me is equally as important in doing more than the status quo or what's just the bare minimum required, that we're more interested in people who are actually interested in making their community a better place, not scraping from the bare minimum of what they have to do, doing the right thing for their community because that's what a great corporate citizen does. I would implore people who want to do business in our community to not just think about the bare minimum things, not just think about what is you know, being required of them, but doing what they can do because it's the right thing to do as a corporate citizen in our community. So I just wanted to put that out there. I know, you know, certainly it's something that's on our minds a lot. I know it's on city staff's minds a lot, and you know, this is going to be something that we're going to have to keep at. And like I say, I believe that this is the right group and the right team to continue to keep the foot on the gas and doing that work. That's all.
Or the electric vehicle pedal.
That's right.
Thank you. Commissioner Morris.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to acknowledge yesterday was Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Yes, mothers are amazing. When I think about my wife and how she's nurtured and, you know, done all she has done, even putting up with me, it's just amazing, right? Mothers are very special. It's impossible for men to do that. So we salute all the mothers of Kalamazoo. And I pray that the Lord continues to bless you and give you strength to continue to be great mothers, right? So that's first. Second, gun violence has, you know, we've experienced a few homicides in our city. In the month of June, it is Gun Violence Awareness Month, and Isaac will be hosting a rally in Bronson Park on June 5th from 5 to 6:30. Make sure you guys put that in your calendar, because the more representation, the more we come together, the more the community sees our collective call to action and our collective impact,
and work we do, the more people get involved, the more people start to care, right? When people start to show up. Okay, that's one. And I think we can do better as a community when it comes to gun violence. Spreading the awareness, encouraging each other, you know, the groups that are working on gun violence right now, like Blocks Club and GVI and Straight Motivation and Isaac and, you know, all these individuals who are out there pushing for this is amazing work. But it doesn't work unless we get involved, right? I've heard a lot of complaints about gun violence. You know, our city is registered as one of the most dangerous cities in the United States of America. It's like top 10, I think, if I'm not mistaken, top 25, maybe. But, you know, there's a lot of people who are doing a lot of work around gun violence. The more we get involved, the more we support the efforts, the deeper the impact. You think about change of status at Urban Alliance. There's so many great stuff happening, right? There's so many great stuff, so much. And so the more we push and the more, you know, we could keep our foot on the pedal, we'll see the transformation. And it's happening. Like, it's happening. The amazing testimonies and stories that we can look back and see when it comes to gun violence, there's change happening. But the impact of it is a rippling effect, okay? So we still need to continue to support that stuff, right? And so my heart goes out to the individuals who lost their lives and their families. And I pray that we wouldn't be a community who just tolerates it, because that's what we've become. We've become desensitized to tolerating these things in our city, like homelessness and gun violence. And man, I was just talking to my wife about, like, you know, we're talking to our daughter about getting her ready for college and stuff like that. And I was having a conversation with my wife about a lot of things that happen on campus that go undealt with, especially when it comes to rape. And it's like, we can do better as a community. We can do way better. And if we want to see a difference, we got to be willing to get involved, right? So gun violence, you know, my heart, I know we're going to be doing some rallies coming up too this summer. Urban Alliance and Alejandro Rodriguez got life camps that are organized around gun violence, and they got some really powerful activities that they're doing with the students. And you can find all the information on their website or on Facebook at Urban Alliance. These life camps, one of the things that is very just profound in what they do is they take these students and they, people who've been impacted by gun violence, they write a letter that's titled Dear Shooter. And hopefully this summer I can get some of those letters and I'll read them from the dais for us, but they're so impactful because these are teenage kids, young kids expressing what is going on in them when it comes to how they've been impacted by gun violence, right? So June, Gun Violence Awareness Month, wear orange, make sure you make it out to the rally, 5 to 6:30, June 5th. Regarding the graphic packaging, for us, I believe all of us on the dais feel the impact. We hear the community, we see the effects, and it is our priority to continue to address this situation in ways where we can encourage people, influence people, and continue to give information and support in that way. But when it comes to the town hall meeting, we as a community should show up. So if you can get the information, spread it out on Facebook, tag somebody, tag all your friends on Facebook, share the information to be at this town hall meeting so people can understand what's going on. So the voice of the community can come together as one to make that impact. You know, as a commissioner and the work we do up here, there's only so much we can do. But when the people of Kalamazoo start to come together, band together, unite together, in fighting against these things that are unjust, then there could be like true transformation. And so my heart just hopes that we do that. And it's not like I hope it might happen. It's like a kingdom hope, a joyful anticipation of what God's going to do. That's the kind of hope that I embody. Not like I hope it happens. No, that's not kingdom hope. Joyful anticipation of what God is going to do, right? And so that's the kind of hope I embody and I want to see happen. And I hope that encourages others to think like that also, where it's not just like a hopeless hope, right? And then last but not least, I want to just show my appreciation and my gratitude to all the people who prayed for me. In my time, I was in the hospital for about 4 or 5 days. I had an infection in my blood, and it was pretty severe. I was close to kicking the bucket, and it was. If it wasn't for my son and my family, you know, trying to take care of me in that moment, because it happened so instantaneously, it was just like, you know, what do we do? My son, he called the ambulance, the police, and they came and, but I'm so grateful to be here and to serve in this capacity. And in that experience, one of the things that I took from it was how valuable life is, and sometimes how short it is, that we tend to take for granted the very day we live in and the impact we can make by being the best version of ourselves. And if you're watching online or if you're in here, I would pray that you would think about how valuable life is. Because in an instant, it could be gone. In an instant, it could be wasted. In an instant, it can be locked up in a cage for the rest of its time. In an instant, it can go away. And life is just so, so valuable. And the more we value it, the more we put a priority on it, the more we'll take care of it. And the more we'll take care of it, the more we take care of one another. And so I just wanted to share that because it was a pretty scary experience, not just for me, but for my family. You know, my wife, I could just imagine what she was thinking, like, oh no, you know? And so I just want to thank everybody for, you know, the support, the prayers, and interceding for me and on my behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris. Vice Mayor Cooney.
Thank you, Mayor. We're glad you're back, Commissioner Juarez. We are so glad you're here. So I'm going to make my comments about the state report. I thought the Kalamazoo Gazette and Brad Devereaux did a really good job on the 2 articles that he wrote. But as I studied the report and I looked at the articles and all, there's several things that stood out to me that I just want to share. First, the key statement is the measured ambient air concentration of hydrogen sulfide in communities adjacent to graphics packaging and the wastewater treatment present a public health hazard. That's fundamental, right there. Second thing was that the average hydrogen sulfide concentration regularly exceeds the safe concentration standards, sometimes by 10 points. So what that means is that people are regularly, almost constantly, subject to this punishing odor and whatever else it does to their system. The third thing was that the regular exposure to hydrogen sulfide can cause respiratory effects in people with asthma. And there was some difficulty in measuring how many people living in that area have asthma, but we know that there are a lot of people. The fourth one, that because this is almost constant, and because people worry about it, this community
is constantly subject to stress. And that stress has great health effects. And that's constant. Fifth, children are at greater risk. And here was the one that really struck me. The state and the federal government measure environmental justice. And how does a neighborhood stand compared to other neighborhoods with violations of environmental justice? And what the report says that the North Side neighborhood meets or exceeds the 80th percentile in the United States. That the North Side neighborhood has a higher environmental justice index than 80% of the neighborhoods in the country. And then one of the last things that struck me was the recommendations. One of the recommendations was, if you smell the odor, stay inside. Another recommendation was, learn to manage your stress. I think these are the wrong answers. I think this puts everything on the people. I think the answer is stop the pollution. And that's not easy. And we have a responsibility in this because it's our wastewater treatment plant, and we have given tax breaks to graphics packaging. So we got some responsibility here, a lot of responsibility. But it's not just us. The community health department has a responsibility here. The whole history of segregation has a responsibility here. So I want to say that this is an emergency. This is a public health emergency. And I don't have the answer to this. But by God, we have to have this at the top of our agenda. And we have to develop a coalition in this community, because it is unacceptable that people in our community live in this kind of a condition. And we have to find a way to deal with this. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor Cooney. Well, once again, I find myself speaking last, and every topic that I noted has been covered probably in a way better than I could say myself. So once again, it's, I'm blessed to serve with such a great group up here. I really, really appreciate that. I guess I'll just won't get maybe quite as deep into the conversation, but I do want to say, having the honor of being mayor here in Kalamazoo, but I guess even more so as a longtime resident of Kalamazoo. I was born in Borges Hospital, and I've spent 45 years of my life living in Northside neighborhoods, and actually raised my 4 daughters in Northside neighborhoods. So have some proximate interest, I guess, in this topic that we've all referenced. But it is important for us to remember, I believe, that I think it was about 5 years ago, we did finally form the Odor Task Force, and which has created a sensor infrastructure, and we've begun to do some work specific to our responsibilities over the wastewater treatment plant, which I do think are making a difference. It's interesting for me, growing up here in Kalamazoo, I had many friends whose parents worked at paper mills here in Kalamazoo. And there were paper mills all over in Kalamazoo. There's in Parchment, in Plainwell, on the south side, on the north side. This was a city built on paper in many ways. And we see the repercussions of that in a variety of ways. Vast tracts of land that are now dumps and covered over and sealed, and we're in the process of reorganizing one of those down at the Allied Paper site right now. But at that time, and I think this lasted for a while, I mean, we basically talked about an odor problem. well, that smells like making paper. And back in my youth, I guess everyone really said, okay, what are the detrimental effects of that odor? I know it smells bad, but what's actually going on under the surface? And I don't think I need to reinforce this at all, but I have a personal commitment, and I think it's obvious that the entire City Commission has a personal commitment to making our response to this be a high, high priority. And I do want to remind us, we have been doing that work. We have a great public services director, a Baker here, who's put a lot of time and attention into that. I mean, you want any one of these issues explained to you, spend a few moments talking to Director Baker if you get down to the weeds. And I know that this work is not going to stop. We're here for the long run. This work is going to continue. And I do think, actually, that some of the things that are also in our plans, but not yet completed, are going to have a positive benefit as well. So I just want to make sure, and I really didn't have to say this now, but just remind the community that this commission is committed and concerned, and looking forward to seeing everybody on Thursday when MDHHS folks make their presentation. On a similar challenging topic, I guess I'll start with Mother's Day. And I mean, I am a lucky enough person that my mother is still around in the world, talking about how we are blessed. And I got to spend a few hours with my mother on Mother's Day, and our time has been a little more limited over the last few years due to COVID and where she lives. There have been lockdowns there, and she's had COVID herself over last few months. And I think one of the hardest things for her was that she gets put into house arrest when she has COVID where she lives now. It's quarantine. She's not supposed to leave her room, and she's a very social person, and so that means I am also not in and out where she lives. And we had a very nice afternoon, but I could hear as our time was wrapping up and she was about to go home, I already knew, because our chief keeps us informed, that there already had been a shooting earlier in the day on Mother's Day, and I began to hear the sirens on in the afternoon. And I have to say that when that happens, I don't like to imagine this, but I start to think, is there somebody who was involved in that shooting who is now perhaps seeking some retribution? How is this particular scenario going to play itself out? And I was hearing a lot of sirens, and I was not hearing a fire truck, which made me believe that there was some serious situation going on. And after my mother left to go back home, and we were notified again just about 3 or 4 blocks from where I live over on Ada Street. I decided to go over and stand with some of our team members who are there in the midst of that, are responding to death and to mayhem, and trying to be calm in the midst of that and respond appropriately, and coming on Mother's Day themselves, maybe when they weren't working that day, is to make sure that the area can be cordoned off and the appropriate information can be collected. And I stood on one side of the yellow tape that was up over on Ada looking down towards Westnedge, and people probably have seen this, but the little yellow tags that get put up wherever there is a shell casing, and it was just like a field of daffodils. There was just yellow flags stretching out across the street. And I appreciate your comments about joyful anticipation. That means a lot, and I really appreciate hearing that. But it is hard to feel that when you're standing there and looking at the results of another senseless shooting and being discouraged at that moment about the progress that we're not making. And I know there's people doing hard work and trying to do good things, and it's hard not to feel a bit discouraged and depressed, to be quite frank. And I just thought, you know, a mother has lost a son here on Mother's Day. And this cannot be the community that we live in, that we accept that. And I think something that's discouraging is that you grapple for the right answer. And I know that our public safety department, which is also deeply involved in this group violence prevention work as well, and do great work there. How do you keep coming back to that table over and over again? And there seems to be an instance like this that says, hey, maybe it's not working, or maybe you're not doing a good enough job. And you just can't land, okay, there's just one answer if we only just did this one thing. So I know it's all hands on deck, and there on Mother's Day I was thinking, hey, we need the mothers more than ever. And sometimes the mothers are the group of folks in the community who kind of hold up some standards and have some expectations and communicate to the male members of their families when to chill out, when to break it up, when to support each other. And ultimately, I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but it was just a sad place to stand on the end of a Mother's Day and think about that. Two big things, and there's many others, but I know that we all care about that, and I know that's the work that we want to do together with our great team here at the city. So I appreciate everyone's efforts. I love you, Kalamazoo. We're adjourned.